MP for Otafu, MP for Otafu. We've seen him a few times on the appointments committee. I don't know if he's a member or a subject matter member. He will clarify that. Vincent Asifua, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, Salam, good morning.
Yes.
Good morning to Franklin.
Yes. Given the new way the standing orders are dealing with members of, categorizing members on the committee, are you a member of the committee, or you are a subject matter member, or you're a friend to the committee? Because we see you asking questions and all of that.
Well, I'm a friend to the committee and also a subject matter member.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Many have said that the approach your side has used in vetting these nominees is not been the best, in the sense that you came to be disruptive rather than just to have your say, so the majority will have its way. What's your comment on that?
Well, their opinions, and such opinions will have to be accepted. Fortunately for us, at the same time that we are having our vetting, the United States of America is also having their vetting. They call it confirmation hearing. Took time to also watch how these are done. You could clearly see that as a democracy, we have a long way to go. We have a lot to learn, and when some of these things are exposed in ours, we find a way to learn from it and see how best we can better ours. I reject any proposal for anybody to say really that we are using that to settle personal score. At least I can speak for myself. At every point in time that I've had the opportunity to ask questions on the committee, and as Franklin rightly puts it, there are some of them who have gone after the characters of people, and so it is important for the Ghanaian people to also know that indeed those who are coming with some amount of equity should come with clean hands. And anytime that I had an opportunity to ask a question, I ask questions based on some of the things that they themselves have said, so that it would clarify the things that they themselves have said. Having said that, I think there's an opportunity and there's room for improvement. We can, as it were, use our standing orders, amend some of them to make sure that, even though the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana do not specifically talk about vetting as a process or as a procedure in approving nominees, ministerial nominees. However, since this is becoming the norm and the convention, we have to find a way to regulate that procedure, learning from people who are doing it better. As I said, if you watch the confirmation hearing of the United States, even members of the committee are able to ask questions related to the sector that the person is going. I watched RFK Jr.'s vetting, who has been nominated as the Secretary to the Health, and you could clearly see that, he had the opportunity to be able to espouse what he thinks about the health sector of the United States of America. And I think that as a country, you cannot box members of parliament from asking relevant questions and say, ask only 3 questions, you only have 1 follow-up question. You cannot really bring out the best in the person with such a procedure.
But even in the American example, they don't have unlimited time to ask questions. They have a time. They have time, so maybe 2 minutes or 5 minutes. And by nature of their way of communication, they're able to put in a lot of questions and get a lot of answers. So I'm not sure whether that is the kind of thing you want to adopt, so that every person, instead of having two or 3 questions, you have 5 minutes. But the disadvantage there for our own will be that sometimes we see the preamble very long. We praise them. We say plenty things before we ask a simple question. In that sense, the 5 minutes or 2 minutes time allotment may not be useful with it.
So you see, if you listen to me very well, I just restrain myself from talking about the fact that they do not have unlimited, or they have unlimited time. I restrain myself from that, simply because I would have gotten there. I am saying that members of parliament who are members on the committee, per our own regulation and per our own standing orders, if we so much desire to make sure that we use that process as a process of bringing out the best in our people, we can regulate it in such a way that members of parliament who are on the committee can have enough space to be able to bring out the best in such people. And that is why I said 3 questions to members of the appointment committee is simply inadequate, is simply not enough. You cannot use 3 questions to bring out the best in the person, because there are some of the questions that will need a number of follow-ups so that you can put matters into proper perspective. So for example, and now I get to where you wanted to get to. If you give me 30 minutes to ask my question, obviously, if I have a lot to ask and if I have a strategy to bring out the best in the nominee, I am going to cut off all, because those salutations does not add anything, or does not bring anything to fore as far as the nominee is concerned. So I'm saying that, like what has been happening in the 8th Parliament, where we had a lot to learn, where we tested most of our laws at the Supreme Court, for the Supreme Court to also give directions as to how things will have to be done. An example as to whether, if a first Deputy Speaker of Parliament sits as a Speaker, can he vote or can he not vote? Because the person is a member of Parliament first and foremost. So we are still learning, and this brings some amount of an opportunity for us to see how best we can better our system. And I think that the current system, even though it is not stated in our laws, but it has been a convention, and because it is a convention now, we should be able to regulate it so that we can bring out the best in our nominees. It is simply unfortunate, worrying and troubling for a nominee to come to the panel only to be asked 1 or 2 questions, some of them not even a single question, and we pass them to go. No, as Franklin was saying, I was at the Ministry of Local Government. If I have an opportunity to ask the Greater Accra Regional Minister his vision and what he seeks to do for the people of Ghana, key for me is sanitation. Recently, we heard for the first time in so many years, cholera outbreak in Greater Accra here, and you think that the Greater Accra Regional Minister will come to a vetting panel and key issues like sanitation will not be asked, which it's unfortunate. And so I'm saying that it's a process, and it's an opportunity for us to learn from our current system, and maybe Parliament leadership should take keen interest in making sure that we can regulate the vetting process, which has now become the norm, which is the convention, so that we can regulate in such a way that we can always bring the best out of our nominees.
Great. Let me explore a bit the thing about passing the people. We saw your own leader, the ranking member, say a lot of things about Linda Oklu, the Greater Accra Regional Minister, and there's passed her, saying that she's one of us, we know her, she's an MP. Yes, the qualification for becoming a minister is that of becoming a member of parliament. So once a person is a member of parliament, the person is qualified to be a minister. That is what you guys try to say. However, when certain other persons also appear before you, like we saw Ato Forson was a leader of the House. When he appeared before you, you vetted him for over 5 hours. We understand finance. Agboja appeared before you, he was a leader of the House. You vetted him for 2-3 hours. That is fine. Haruna appeared before you, you vetted him for 2 hours and more. That's fine. But they are all your colleagues in Parliament. So why is it that for some of them, you relax that rule and vet them, and for others, who in your estimation may not be carrying very powerful portfolio, you let them go? But who says Greater Accra is not a very strong portfolio? It is the heartbeat of the country. So the question is, I see you are not happy with it, that some people were just passed that way. But the question to you is, have you engaged your leadership about this process or this procedure, that it is not fair on the people of Ghana, because you may know them, we don't know them. I, for example, I would have wanted to know what the Greater Accra Regional Minister had in store for me as somebody or a resident of this region. None of that. And it's not even good for the person, because now people may think that the person is not capable. The person would have wanted the opportunity to espouse his or her vision. Now that opportunity is not given. Not a pretext that is one of us. Have you spoken to your leadership? Have you raised it at leadership meeting, or when the cameras are off, you guys are meeting? Have you raised those issues? And what has been the response, if you have?
Well, we have our next caucus meeting on Tuesday around 10 o'clock. And so maybe we could ask for some amount of explanation.
Because it's not consistent. It's not even consistent. Others you do, others you don't. It's not even, if you are not vetting them because they are your colleagues in parliament, you know them, let them all go through so that we know that we don't have to sit down and watch anything. But you do for some, you don't do for some. It's not even consistent. So I'm not sure why your seniors keep quoting that convention, or is we know her, blah, blah, blah. But we don't know them. We want to know them, and they are coming to serve us. So I would want you to raise that, and let's see an end to that possibly.
I think I agree with you, because you see, when the Constitution says that, I mean, a member of anybody who qualifies to be a member of Parliament can be a minister, or anyone who is a member of Parliament qualifies to be a minister. If that should be the argument, of course, then people should not be vetted at all. But as I said, it's not a process, or what happened with Madam Oklu is not something that I agree to. It's something that I am worried about, because having sat at the Ministry of Local Government, I have seen a lot of challenges with Greater Accra, and I've seen what the regional minister can do for the people of Greater Accra. And so it's not something that I accept. But I'm saying that I am a Ghanaian first and foremost. You're a Ghanaian first and foremost. We should come to some amount of unanimity as to how we can approach some of these things, especially where we can, as it were, make our concerns known, so that the parliamentarians will know that it's about time that we regulate this vetting process. How are we regulating it, and how are we going to go about it in such a way that it will really meet the expectation of the Ghanaian people? And I think that this has brought an opportunity for us to be able to regulate the vetting process in Parliament. We cannot leave it as business as usual.
Yes, I'll quickly get to the Speaker's decisions and orders and sanctions and all of that soon. Prior to, was it the beginning or at some point in yesterday's proceedings, we saw, I think before Kujeto appeared, we saw a press conference addressed by your leader, ranking member Afenyo Markin. I saw you behind him, etc. He said that, you know, you will not boycott the vetting, you will stay to do what you have to do. But if you stay to do what you have to do, and what you have to do becomes disruptive, of what benefit would that be to the country and to the government business? We know that you guys say you must have your say, others must have their way, because it's a game of numbers. And so you could make that point by boycotting or by saying what you have to say. But to stay and say you will make it, I mean, you will stay and be heard at all costs, that is the cause or the genesis of the disruption. So if, for example, you thought that you were tired, you didn't have to continue, and so you would leave, and you failed to secure some compromise from the other side, what you do is to boycott the process, and it goes on record. But to stay and cause what happened on Thursday, I'm not saying you caused it, but I'm saying that to stay and cause that, or to stay and make things degenerate to that level, that is completely unacceptable. And the people of Ghana cannot take that. There's a reason why the numbers are like this. There's a reason why the numbers were the way they were in the previous parliament. And there's also a reason why the numbers were the way they were in the 2017-2021 parliament. So at every point in time, and what the people of Ghana want. So to stay and be disruptive, as we saw on Thursday, you know, dismantling chairs, microphones getting destroyed, etc. It is a pain to the Ghanaian. What do you say to that?
So, first and foremost, let me condemn whatever happened that night. It's unfortunate. It is unparliamentary. These are things that should not be happening. From where we've gotten to as a nation from 1992 to today, it's not something that should be happening. And I condemn it. Yes, it's something that should not have happened at all. However, you see, when you say that if there is an issue where you're not happy about, the best way for you is to boycott it so that you put that on record. I mean, that is what you have just said. Maybe that should have been a route to take. But you see, before the committee sits, they go about with something we call precedent engagement. An agreement are made there, some consensus are agreed on, and we believe that when we go for the precedent engagement, whatever is agreed upon there should be adhered to. Now, with respect to what led to the disruptions at the committee, was that a day before the vetting, and even that morning when the precedent was done, normally what our chief whip does is that he puts on the platform, or he advertises the people who are supposed to be vetted based on the precedent arrangement. So when the list came, there were 4. And normally what happens is that it gives an opportunity for subject matter committee members to prepare their questions, or to prepare themselves and know what time they should move from plenary, or they should move from the chamber to the committee. So when it was advertised, the Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa was not part of it. So I had cause to even put it on my Facebook wall around 9 or 10 o'clock that I have seen an advert of the Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa saying that he will be appearing before the committee at 1 o'clock. And I indicated that it was not going to happen because per the advertisement and the press-setting engagement, he was not part of it. That is what I had from our chief whip. So I made that conclusion. And indeed, the vetting did not happen because, in our estimation, he was not supposed to be vetted that day, because of what happened a day before with Vomawa's invitation to the committee. So I was surprised to have seen that the Honorable Ablakwa was at the premise that night expecting to be vetted. So you see, if you want to insult the intelligence of your colleague, when they have been pre-setting arrangement that these are the people that we want to, or we are going to vet, and you still want to do the vetting for people who have not been agreed upon to be vetted that day, yes, you can boycott. But when you boycott, in our estimation and in our calculation, especially knowing very well that the majority side was doing that so that we can boycott, so that they can have their way. You see, that is where the problem came from. They just wanted to play on our intelligence, and they were telling us, if you don't agree, boycott, leave, so that they can do their thing, like what happened yesterday. That is all that they wanted. And we felt that we needed to stay and make sure that the right thing is done. The right thing being done does not mean that you should destroy state property, and that is why I'm saying that I condemn that. I frown on that. It's a troubling situation. It's a very worrying situation. It's not something that should have happened first and foremost. But I think that the media should also see some sense, or should analyze the situation and see where the problem is coming from. Okay, because if you have agreed not to vet someone on a particular day and insist on vetting, it is likely to bring problems, you know, and that is where
Vincent, not to cut you, but I think that agreement you are talking about is contested. Yes. Because that's your side of it. Their side of it also says something else. And indeed, at the vetting yesterday, you saw Okudzeto Ablakwa read from his letter of invitation to him, which meant that the day you are saying you agreed not to vet him, he had a letter written to him by Parliament, by the committee, to appear on that day. So where was the agreement? And indeed, we in the media we in the media also got a schedule a day before that day. So I'm not sure where the agreement was, because we had a schedule. So I'm not sure what the agreement was.
That's where the problem is coming from. Okay. Yes, there was an invitation to him, and unfortunately, because I'm not a member of the committee, a member of the committee, not a subject member of the, because if I was a member of the committee, I would have raised it and resisted that attempt by Okujeto to whitewash himself, because the matters were not put into proper perspective. And of course, you had the chairman also acquiescing to whatever was said by the Honorable Okujeto. Yes, an invitation was sent to him to appear before that day, but don't lose sight of the fact that there were other unexpected situations that did not allow the vetting vetting to have happened at the time that was given to the Honorable Okujeto Ablakwa. And that's what I'm saying, that there was a pre-sitting meeting that morning, and he was not scheduled to appear. There were other unexpected things like the Vomawas issue and other things that dragged the sitting. And so it is not contestable that the Honorable Okujeto Ablakwa was given an invitation to appear that day. But it is also not contestable that there were other surrounding issues that did not make the time that was given to him probable for him to appear before the committee, which the pre-sitting engagement dealt with, communicated to him. But of course, because that situation, because they had already made up their mind that whatever be the situation, he will have to be vetted. So he was brought there to be vetted, even when the pre-sitting engagement did not allow him to be vetted that day. So that's where the problem is coming from. So unfortunately, I was not a member of the committee. I am not a member of the committee. I'm a subject member of the committee. So I did not have space and the opportunity to talk at that time. But if I was a member of the committee, like Patrick Bowman is a member of the committee, then of course I would have raised it. What happened on the floor of Parliament there was disingenuous, was not the representation of the full facts. He just said those things to us to whitewash himself. But the point is that in its entirety, the true story is that yes, one, he was given the invitation, but two, the circumstances that happened did not permit him to be vetted the time that he was given. The 1 p.m. that he was given, the circumstances around just simply did not make it possible, because you could clearly see, look at the time that we started vetting Sam George. Look at the time that we started vetting Sam George, and he was supposed to come about 2 or 3 people after Sam George. It was simply not possible. Okay. If you were given 1 o'clock, why were you not insisting that you be vetted at 1 o'clock? Because the pre-sitting engagement had already ruled out the fact that you were supposed to be vetted.
Vincent, I get your point, but you see, the pre-sitting arrangement is what I want to clarify. At that meeting, are you saying that both sides agreed that we are not vetting Okujeto and even Kando? Because if it is an agreement, then what do? You have to write back to the person and inform him. The question is, was the person written to in respect of this new arrangement? And you are saying arrangement, but the other side is saying there was no such arrangement. So where do we sit? So and the other point is, it's a committee, it's a numbers thing. If you're unable to reach a compromise, what do? You vote. Is that not the case? That's how the rules say you should take decisions. If there is no consensus or nobody's compromising, that is what we have known. So all of this happening, it doesn't paint a good picture for you, and it doesn't make us also look good, because you are our representatives and we are not happy with that.
To be fair, I don't have any evidence to show that he was written to.
No, but he read a letter in front of everybody, and even your leader had cause to apologize to him
after the press conference.
No, I don't remember my leader apologizing to him on that.
No, he did after the press conference.
The chairman, listen, hold on. I'm saying that initially he was written to. When his time was varied, the pre-sitting engagement as according to my chief whip, because as you rightly realized yesterday, I was a subject matter for Foreign Affairs Committee, or I am a Foreign Affairs subject matter committee member, and so supposed to have been part of Honorable Kudeto Blackwell's vetting. And I am suggesting to you that the advert that was made on our platform was that the Honorable Kudeto Blackwell was not to have been vetted, or was not supposed to have been vetted the day that he himself advertised on his Facebook wall. That is according to my chief whip. So that means that if I had anything to do on the floor of Parliament or any other thing when Parliament closes, I could even go home. So it was on that basis that I had the courage to write on my Facebook wall that that vetting that he is talking about is not happening, based on his assertion or based on his communication to me and the minority side that his vetting was not happening that day. And I'm also suggesting to you that I do not think that knowing the number of people that was slated to be vetted that day, about 5 people per the information that we had on our platform, inclusive of Kofi Adams, Akando, but even Akando did not have opportunity to be vetted that day because obviously they were tired. I am saying that with respect to that, it was not true, or it cannot be accurate, that the Honorable Samoku Kudeto Blackwell was supposed to have been vetted that very day, knowing very, very well that the advertisement that was communicated to us on the minority side did not include his name. At least to be fair, that is the side of the story of our chief whip. The other side, we have another side. But you know, even after what happened, I was not able to even watch what happened after we left yesterday. But listen to my senior brother, Franklin Kutu. Even people who were not slated to be part of it yesterday were called upon to come. Within 5 minutes, they passed them. So it means that there was a certain agenda to, for lack of better words, to smuggle people to the vetting committee or the appointment committee to be vetted at the time that even it has not been agreed that people will have to be vetted. How do you sit from 10 o'clock and it's around 8, 9, 10 o'clock p.m. in the evening and you still want to push people onto the vetting committee to vet them? Why? Are you not even interested in members of parliament planning and, if you like, preparing adequate questions to bring out the best in our people? And so this was our point. So even assuming without admitting that he was scheduled to have been vetted that time, was it not a reasonable excuse, or was it not a reasonable argument that the time that the Honorable Kudeto Blackwell was supposed to have appeared before the committee was so late, and members of parliament on the appointment committee had sat for so long, they were tired and they couldn't have done a proper job at the time. So that is what I think is, well, as I said, it's also an opportunity for us to be able to make sure that we can amend our standing orders and have a proper regulation as to how some of these approval processes in terms of the vetting that we have can be done.
Very well. I know you have to go, but just hang on for me. I'll take a short break. I'll come back and then we'll deal with the discussion. We'll deal with the discussion about the sanction proper and what your side has put out. Your side has described the decision of the Speaker as an unfortunate overreach of parliamentary authority and a blatant display of selective justice and an attack on the democratic principles that underpin our legislative process. I'll get to that. So kindly hang on for me. Let me take a few of your messages before I go. This one says, Ernest in Accra, I think the way the majority is doing by praise-singing nominee during vetting is not appropriate, and that gives the chance to the minority to ask more questions. And the behavior of some nominees are not good, because even if you seek for a job, you can't behave like that. Okay. All right. Bobby from DC says, good morning, Salome. It is the thinking of a section of the public that the MPP is deliberately obstructing the government by delaying the process of vetting. I mean, it's a question you're asking. How can one imagine so, seeing how quick some nominees were discharged? It has always been the case. The floor of Parliament has always been the appropriate place for fact-checking. I'm disappointed in Jerry Ahmed Roxin. Okay, these are two Okay, Jerry, Ahmed, and Roxin. The chairman must also be tolerant and toned down. Citizen Francis says the majority's actions in Parliament last Thursday were a shameful display of power politics, with Roxin Dafame's aggression and refusal to compromise being particularly unacceptable. Kudos to the mighty minority for standing firm and refusing to back down. Your comments still welcome here on 020-444-7033 as displayed on your screen, or 0549-986-996. We'll be right back. Yeah, welcome back. This is The Big Issue. My name is Selo Madunu. We are live on ChannelOne television and on City FM. We're looking at the happenings in Parliament this week. We've dealt with the first part of it. We're now looking at the Speaker's actions. The Speaker has made a few orders and has sanctioned some members of Parliament, sanctioned 3 minority people and 1 majority person. This comprises the two chief whips, Majority Chief Whip Nelson Eche Roxin Dafamepo and Frank Anodompre for the minority. Also sanctioned or suspended the Gushegu Member of Parliament, Alassane Tamponi, and Hassan Tampoli, and then Jerry Ahmed Shaib, who is the member from Weja, and actually also a deputy whip. So that's what it is. The Speaker wasn't happy. He made some far-reaching orders. So, for example, he called for investigation into the violent confrontations amongst MPs during the confirmation hearing. He also set up a committee so that committee setup will be chaired by the Honorable Bejra, who is NDC member from Ho Central, I think, Ho West, yes. And then the committee shall identify all members involved in the disorder and submit its report with findings and recommendations within 10 days from yesterday. So this membership of the committee, MP for Ho West, Emmanuel Bejra. Other members include Member of Parliament for Asante Akim Central, Kwame Nimedu Entry, MP for Wutu Senya West, Gisela Teta Agbotui, MP for Atiwa West, Abena Oseasari, Member for Klote Koli, Dr. Zaneto Jima Rollins, Member for Doma West, Vincent Zopong Asamoah, and Member for Laura, the Honorable Bid Zidin. He also directed the clerk to Parliament to formally lodge a complaint with the Ghana Police Service to conduct a full criminal investigations into the matter for appropriate action. So appropriate action could mean a lot of things. They could be prosecuted, a lot of things could happen. What transpired was not just, he said what transpired was not just a gross affront to the dignity of Parliament, but also a blatant contempt of the House. So that's members of Parliament themselves being contemptuous of the House. He's also called for a select committee meeting, which also generated a whole lot of things. A select committee meetings to reconstitute the appointments committee and relook at the rules and all of that. So first of all, let me start off with you, Honorable Gakpe. You are in the majority. The Speaker's decision has been long overdue in terms of the misconduct of some of you members in the House. And so it has come this time aptly. It's been appropriate and it's right. Do you agree?
Yeah, but that is within the context. You know, if Parliament, the military invaded Parliament, that time, that was during the Speaker's election, there was no Speaker in place. So no sanction can be, it can't do.
No, but it could have been investigated.
Yeah, it could have been investigated, but this contest is different. Here we are, Speaker is in place, and when you look at our standing order, if a member have contempt issue in the presence of Parliament, the Speaker can actually sanction immediately. It's in the rule. But if the member misbehave outside, that is where the Speaker have the right to refer to the privileges. So we have to look at these issues.
So what the Speaker did was right?
Yes, it was right.
He didn't have to refer to the
No.
privileges committee.
It was right. And that's what people don't know. Because it's two-way. One, you are in the presence of Parliament and you rightly, contempt of Parliament, Speaker can apply sanction immediately. But if you misbehave outside, that is why they will refer the issue matter to privileges. So that one, the Speaker is right to do what he did. And then have put measures in place to investigate appropriately and come back. And also direct, having given clear direction for police to come in, CID, to investigate. It's fair. It should be fair to the Speaker. This is somebody who has been in Parliament for long, and he knows the rudiments of Parliament. He knows in and out of Parliament. So before a Speaker takes decision, you know that he's an experienced person, and he knows what he's doing. So at this time, we need not to fault Speaker. He's right to do that. I see.
All right. So Honorable Vincent Sefwa is leaving. So let me just finish with him. Then Sami and Franklin will come back and digest the rest of the issues. So Vincent, yes, thanks for joining again. The Speaker's decision, your side says is unfortunate, and your side is saying that it sets a very dangerous precedent. Why do you say so?
Well, so first and foremost, in Akan, we have this adage that asem no betimi adibem na udibem, but said the obekoso aye no na ma wakodi for. So I've paraphrased the adage. I agree with the Speaker of Parliament when he gets livid about what happened on the floor of Parliament or at the committee level. But that's where I have a sharp contradiction of an idea as to what my brother in the studio is also saying. One thing that we should know is that at the level of the committee, it cannot be described as the presence of Parliament. That is a Parliament properly so constituted. What happens at the committee or anything that happens at the committee cannot be described as the presence of Parliament. And for that matter, it is not a Parliament properly so constituted. I disagree with that argument because whatever happens at the committee or whatever is being done at the committee, in my estimation, is a Parliament properly so constituted. That is number one. Number two, the Speaker of Parliament may be right in getting livid and getting angry about what transpired. But the Speaker of Parliament, even in his own provisions that he quoted, does not have any basis whatsoever, not in the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, not in the Standing Orders of Parliament, and not even in the Parliamentary Service Act that he himself quoted. Not a single of a provision gives the Speaker of Parliament that opportunity to do what he did. Listen, I will not advise any of the MPP side or any of the MPP members of Parliament that were nominated on the committee to ever step foot at the committee. I will not advise because ab initio, the processes or the procedure in making sure that the committees are formed and giving them the needed opportunity to independently assess the matter has been defeated. Because one, the Speaker of Parliament had already suspended these people. Listen, if you check Order 130 of the Standing Orders of Parliament, at any point in time that you even feel that someone will have to be suspended, the person will have to be suspended at first instance 4 days, the next instance, that's the second instance, 8 days, and the next instance 12 days. Nowhere in the Standing Orders of Parliament will you find anything like 2 weeks. Nowhere. So as I said, the Speaker of Parliament has no basis, has no reason to even go the tangent that he went. Secondly, under no circumstance and in any of our laws would you ever find the Speaker of Parliament having the power to suspend people. In fact, in all the constitutional provisions I have read, i.e. Article 116.4.3 of the 1992 Constitution, the Standing Orders of Parliament, every other laws that I have read, the Speaker of Parliament does not have the power, is not wielded with the power to make pronouncement unilaterally, being the judge being the complainant at the same time, hearing complaint and making a pronouncement on it to suspend people. This has never happened in our country. This is alien to our laws. This is unacceptable, and this should not have happened at all. I am not in any way approving what happened, but I'm just saying that due process should have been followed. And in the absence of the due process, it makes nonsense of everything that you are doing. And that's why I said that in a can, but that is not how it was supposed to have been done. As we speak, we don't have a privileges committee. Of course, it is within our laws for the Speaker of Parliament to constitute any special committee in the absence of a committee to do the work of that committee. So that is okay. But why do you task the committee to go and investigate a matter, and yet you yourself have already hanged the people? There are a number of people in the video that should have been suspended. I will cite one example to you. Go back and check the video. The son of a Sidun Ketia was at the forefront, was at the center of this mayhem. Why was he not mentioned?
It was the guy in jacket.
Why do you do this? Why would the Speaker of Parliament present Parliament as a secondary school where the headmaster can take any decision whatsoever in the name of sanctifying Parliament? That is unacceptable. The Speaker of Parliament got it wrong, and I do so, and I say this with the greatest of respect. People will say he has stayed in Parliament for about 30 years and over. You are just a young lawyer. He has been in a place. if you have practiced law for about 30 years, does it mean that the young man who also completed law school cannot have a mind on his own, a mind of his own, to critique certain things that are done? But to me, in my understanding, as far as the constitutional law of this country is concerned, cannot do so. Why do we do this ourselves? Why would the Speaker of Parliament go this tangent? Go and check Article 19 of the 1992 Constitution. Article 19. Article 19 talks about fair hearing. You have suspended these people without hearing them.
I see. Great. So
you have suspended. Just a minute. I'm ending. You have suspended these people without hearing them. The same chapter 5 of the 1992 Constitution also talks about the fact that persons are supposed to be deemed to be innocent until they have been heard and they have been hanged thereon. None of these has been done, and you are suspending them. Look at the disgrace that you are giving to these people, even though some of the actions that we saw there is already disgraceful. But of course, they have families. For family members to hear, oh, their MPs or their family members.
But the family members would have seen their fathers and their relatives fighting on live TV when we send them there to go and represent us.
It's okay. Go through the proper procedure so that everybody will know that indeed the right procedures have been followed for such people to have been hanged. What has happened?
Great. I see.
Shameful.
Very well.
And it shouldn't have happened.
So beyond issuing this statement, can you share with us what the minority will do? Will you go to court to quash the orders of the Speaker? What will you do? What's next for you?
We have a number of options at our disposal.
Like what?
We cannot throw our ourselves here now.
Just give us some of the options. I'm not saying give me the specific thing you will do, but what are some of the options here?
You can go to the Supreme Court to ask for an interpretation of whatever has happened. You know, these places who have also been affected themselves can also go to the court. As I said, we have a number of options available to us. But what has happened? You, the media, please, Selo, your people, you know what the law is. It is available. Please, what the Speaker himself quoted in his statement or his communication to the House, please, just what he himself quoted, check and see if there's any basis for him to have done what he did. People should speak up. These things cannot be happening.
I see. I'll let Sami come. Sami has a...
Because you indicated that the honourable member for Tafu would be leaving us.
Yes.
I think it is important to put a few things into perspective, right? So because there are a few things that have been said, which for the benefit of our viewers and listeners, it's important to put in context. Now, the parliamentary precincts, of course, includes chamber committee sittings, you know, the entire, and that's how the standing orders of parliament defines what the precinct of parliament is.
So if it's in a committee meeting,
if it's
it's
a
a
committee
precinct of
meeting,
parliament.
it's still precinct of parliament. In fact, if it's at the Independence Square, because parliament has been moved to the Independence Square, it is the precinct of parliament and whatsoever. Now, within the precinct of parliament, when a committee is sitting, the rules as applies to a committee is literally, I like to term
it's
it
a micro parliament
of parliament, so that all of the rules that applies in plenary applies there, except that there are some exceptions which have been clearly defined by the standing orders of parliament, and so orderliness in at committee and all of those things. Now, Mr. Speaker, in his ruling, and I agree in part that there are a few things that are happening with the ruling he gave yesterday, which would not ordinarily have happened if we were in, maybe for the want of a better word, normal times. We don't have a committee on privileges and immunities, but the standing orders of parliament provides for disorderly conduct.
Order 130.
So what does Order 130 say, just for the benefit of our listeners?
130, and before you even get to 130, there's 129, which talks about disorderly conduct. Disorderly conduct is where a member of parliament, so it's quite maybe for the benefit of your. So a member, minister or deputy minister engages in disorderly conduct where the member, minister or deputy minister persistently breaches these orders or the standing orders of parliament. Despite Order 1233, and 123 is the orders that relates to contempt, you know, proper. Where the Speaker calls the attention of the House to the conduct of a member, minister or deputy minister who persist in irrelevance or tedious repetitions other than arguments of the member, minister or deputy minister, or of the arguments used by another member in a debate, the Speaker may direct the member, minister or deputy minister to discontinue the speech. Then it goes on to talk about the Speaker may order a member, deputy minister, minister who conducts in persistent disorderly acts to withdraw immediately from the House during the remainder of a sitting of that particular day. And then it also says that where the member disregards, you know, that's Speaker's ruling for withdrawal, the Speaker may invite the Marshal to take to essentially take you out, right? Where the Speaker considers that the sanctions under this order is inadequate or are inadequate, the Speaker may name a member of parliament. And in parliamentary parlance, to name a member of parliament is a very higher level of punishment. So your name is being specifically mentioned, which means that you are being taken to a different realm, so to speak, where now a motion will have to be moved that that particular member be held directly under contempt of parliament, right? Now, the summary of all of this is
but he's saying that the 10 days and all of that is
alien. So I'm going to come to that. That is at 130.
130.
Okay.
So 130 says that where a member is found to be in contempt of parliament under Order 129, and 129 is the order about disorderly conduct, the member shall be suspended immediately from the House, and unless the House otherwise decides, the suspension shall be on the first occasion for 4 sitting days, and 4 sitting days is 1 week, because Parliament sits 4 times ordinarily in a week. On the second occasion for 8 sitting days, and on the third occasions or subsequent occasions for 12 sitting days, except that in calculating the period of suspension of a member, the days on which the member was suspended shall be included. And unless the House otherwise orders, the period of suspension shall not extend beyond the end of the session. So
let me interrogate this. They said the House is not the Speaker.
I agree.
And it said found to have been in contempt of Parliament. Found means that there should have been a process that will culminate in the guilt, quote unquote, of that person. But I think the point they are making is that this was an arbitrary decision.
And so I am driving to the point that this provision that Honorable Asifua quoted is not the provision specifically, in my opinion, that was used in the decisions of the Speaker. Now,
but do we know the specific provision?
The standing orders of Parliament, and the Speaker specifically indicated how Order 5, I think, makes provisions for what the Speaker must do when something is not specifically provided for in the standing orders. Now, we are in a situation where we do not have a Privileges and Immunities Committee yet. What it means is that a member who misconducts himself cannot be sent to a Privileges and Immunities Committee. The best case scenario would be to form a special committee, in this case the Bejra committee, to go look further into the matter. And in fact, I believe there are so many people in that video who must be punished beyond this fall.
Yeah.
I personally think so. And the Bejra committee, we are looking forward to what kind of work they will do in relation to that. But where there is not a specific provision in the standing orders, or there is ambiguity, the rule says that the Speaker will determine it as appropriate. And if you're a member of Parliament and you have a problem with it, you challenge it by way of a motion.
Okay.
Subsequently.
So what the
now
Speaker has done, if they have a problem, they should challenge it with
so there is
motion.
a route for challenging via motion. I think that is one of the first points that needs to be emphasized. The second point that needs to be emphasized is that we must not allow our Parliament and our MPs to have the institution of Parliament degenerate to that extent where citizens' trust in the institution of Parliament as a whole, gets eroded. I have read the statement that the minority side, had issued. And of course, they've described some of the issues in different forms. You have read some of the descriptions. They say it's an unfortunate overreach of parliamentary authority by the Speaker is an attack on democratic principles that underpin the legislative principles. And then he even described the destruction of the properties as minor property damage. Property damage. You see, when we start doing this, we get into the realm of making the citizens think that some of the very terrible things that happened in Parliament, we are very immune to them.
The standard actually should be higher.
Way higher.
And if an ordinary person had done that, we would have called the full, extent of the
And so for me, yes, I agree that in the absence of clear definition and rules on what needs to be done
but he's clothed by the Order 5 you read.
He's clothed by that, in my opinion. And for which reason, I think we should start looking at it more from how are we going to also have the other sanctions or the other angles implemented to the latter. I look to see to the Clerk of Parliament, following through with that formal report to the police, what the police is eventually going to say about the subject matter. Remember that the Act 300, which is the
Parliamentary Act,
stipulates that sanctions can be imposed on members of Parliament, strangers of Parliament, for certain acts done in Parliament, within the presence of Parliament, and what have you. So I think the distinction must be made that there is a different process for when a parliamentary committee on privileges and immunities have sat, right?
And when the Speaker
and
is
then
coming
when the
under
Speaker
Order 5,
is making,
because there's ambiguity or
because
there's
there
a
is
lacuna.
ambiguity. And there is a route to how you can challenge that. Which provides you the clear opportunities to be able to do that. And I think that it's important to emphasize those. Great. And those are just the points I needed to make.
Super, great.
Because,
so Vincent, if you have anything about this to say, that's fine. But otherwise, deal with me also.
I was checking in, so I didn't hear most of the things that he said. But maybe if I want to ask him a question, Sammy.
Yes, please.
From all that you said, the ones I listened to and the ones I couldn't listen, is there a basis for the Speaker of Parliament to have suspended these people in law?
So
I'm ready to learn that.
Yeah, so he deals with Order 5, and Order 5, according to him, according to the standing orders,
so Order 5.2 says that in any case not provided for in the orders, Mr. Speaker shall decide on a procedural question. In exercising the powers conferred under this order, Mr. Speaker shall act in accordance with the Constitution.
So he comes under Order 5.
And then, subject to the provisions of the Constitution or any other enactment, where there is doubt, these orders shall be interpreted by the Speaker.
So that's quite
and so I was making a
huge. It gives a huge.
It's one of the areas that
discretion.
So the question is, this matter that happened at the appointment committee is something that has not been described by the rules of the House and the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. Is that what Sammy is saying?
The point I'm making is that the Constitution of the Republic makes provisions for contempt of Parliament, and it makes provisions for contempt of Parliament describing what constitutes contempt of Parliament. Now, the standing orders now steps it down to indicate that when you are found or deemed to have been in contempt of Parliament, there is a parliamentary committee that you are supposed to be sent to. But that same standing orders also makes provisions for what can be done to you as a member of parliament during the course of a sitting of parliament, and by extension, a committee sitting of parliament.
Hold on. When the Speaker of Parliament in his ruling says that there is no privileges committee,
yes.
Listen, there is no privileges committee, and for that matter, I am setting up a special committee. Please, what is the purpose of a privileges committee? The privileges committee is to ensure that some amount of hearing is done for purposes of contempt. Is that not the case?
Correct.
Is that not the case?
Correct.
So you cannot impute any other meanings or intention from the Speaker of Parliament in this circumstance, because his purpose is to refer the matter to a privileges committee, which privileges committee is not established as we speak.
Yes.
And so he is forming a special committee in place of the privileges committee. So let's get that clear.
Yes, and I'm saying that there are two layers to this. There is the privileges aspect of it, for which a special committee has been set up. And there is that opportunity that exists for a presiding officer in the Chamber of Parliament to be able to exact sanctions at the time of a sitting, or when an information is made available to him in the absence of the whole privileges process. Because for these members of parliament, they have not been sanctioned because they've gone to a privileges committee and a privileges committee or any other special committee has found them guilty. But because they are
so this provision
orderly act,
is
within
a stopgap measure to help resolve the matter in the meantime.
Absolutely.
Whilst the special committee
and the reason why
reason
why we think that it is appropriate, and especially as it has whipped in line for me, leaders of the House.
Viewers understand what is happening. Let us address the special committee as a privileges committee. Is that okay? Because that is actually what the special committee is meant to do. Is that not the case?
The special committee is should be a fact-finding committee.
Absolutely.
Come up with
so the special committee there's an absence of privileges committee. Is that not the case?
Exactly, and makes recommendations.
Take your time. So it's fine. So now, for purposes of this discussion, let us understand that this special committee is the privileges committee because it has been set up in the absence of the privileges committee, right?
It's an ad hoc committee.
The law makes
the
standing orders make room for that.
Ad hoc committee.
Yes, so I'm just saying that from what the Speaker of Parliament said, the special committee is in place because there is absence of privileges committee. So I'm saying that in the absence of this, for the purposes of this discussion, the special committee should be seen as a privileges committee. And I'm suggesting to you that under the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana and the standing orders of Parliament, what are the duties of the privileges committee? This is how we should look at this argument. Don't even go to 5, because in his own ruling, he has set up a special committee to do the work of a privileges committee.
No.
Why then do you go ahead to hang people when the committee is even about to start its work? And from what Sami also read, I see the point of where everything is about present continuous. Okay, whatever happens in Parliament or on the floor of Parliament, the Speaker of Parliament can mete out sanctions to the person and all those kind of things. But this is something that happened at the committee level, where the Speaker of Parliament was not even there to make those sanctions immediately. It needs a fact-finding opportunity for us to find out what really transpired. That is why I only cited one person to you, that the son of Asiedu Nketia in the video. Did you see or you did not see? He was at the center of everything. Why do you sanction some people and leave some out? So it is my contention that irrespective of how my brother Sami may want to go about this and make it look as if that at one breath, it look as if the Speaker of Parliament has the power to be able to do so. I disagree to the point that it is a bad precedent that the Speaker of Parliament is setting. And this precedent, if we allow it to stand, will come back to haunt us one day. We will give the Speaker of Parliament so much power to the extent that the Speaker of Parliament can do anything that he wants. Even tomorrow, if I get to Parliament, the Speaker of Parliament can tell me that based on Order 5, you are no more a member of Parliament because you have done so and so and so. We should not allow that. The Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, which is supreme than any other law, like the standing orders, and if you check Article 11, it gives you the sources of law. The Constitution of Ghana, as far as its supremacy of it is concerned, tells you that the standing orders that is emanating from the Constitution, that is Article 101 is just a subsidiary law of the Constitution of Ghana. So if the Constitution of Ghana says that Article 19, hear people before you can condemn them, why do you use Order 5, which is a subsidiary law, to topple a constitutional provision? If the Constitution says that, Chapter 5, people are supposed to be innocent before they can be seen to be guilty after a certain process has been followed, why do you use Order 5, a standing order, which is a subsidiary of the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, to say that such people are now supposed to be, as it were, be suspended? It cannot be the case, and that is not constitutional law. That cannot be law. This is arbitrariness. This is autocracy, using your own kind of understanding to, as it were, in a democratic society to achieve a certain purpose. Is it the case that the Speaker of Parliament and the NDC feels that the minority is now becoming formidable, we are energizing our base, and let's do something to, as it were, quench their fire? This is politics. Let us not do that.
I see. Vincent, we are grateful. I mean, we are grateful. But Sammy, Franklin is there. Franklin, we are both learning. We are not parliamentary people, but we are both learning. So how about the thinking that the orders specifically provide for this? Set up a committee if there is no privileges committee, etc. So once the order 5 has provided for it, or I mean, Order 130 or so is provided for it already. Order 5 says that in any case not provided for in these orders, but an order is provided for it.
Okay.
So once an order is provided for it, how about you go with the order?
Yeah, so there were different layers of the pronouncements that Mr. Speaker made yesterday. One is the setting up of the committee. And let me read exactly what he said at the time of setting up the committee. He says, consequently, the following emergency measures are to be taken with dispatch. A, in the circumstances of the absence of a Privileges and Immunities Committee, a 7-member special committee shall be constituted under Order 5 and 20 Rule 4 to conduct a full-scale investigation into the events of yesterday and this morning. The committee shall identify all members involved in the disorder and submit its report with findings and recommendations within 10 days from today. Any member found culpable shall face the appropriate disciplinary measures as prescribed by the Constitution, the Parliament Act 1965, and the Standing Orders of Parliament. Then he goes ahead to name the members of the committee. So this is in relation to the absence of a Privileges Committee, right? He invoking the Standing Orders provision for the need for ad hoc committees, and the fact that Rule 5, Order 5, allows for the formation of a special committee to deal with the matter because it has not been provided for specifically. So that is it from that side.
Yes, the other argument is that the punishment the Speaker can exact is suspension. If all these privileges come, all of those things, the punishment, he cannot sack somebody from punishment forever, from Parliament forever. He can only suspend 4 days, 8 days, 12 days maybe. And he has suspended him for 10 days. He has exacted the punishment already, even without hearing from the people and all of that.
And so I'm trying to create the distinction that there is that opportunity created for the hearing, for the fact-finding by a special committee.
The special committee.
Yes. Then there is a different layer of the 4.
So if the special committee now recommends that they be suspended for 4 days, but they would have served 10 days already, would that be fair? Would that have been fair to them?
No. So I think that we need to.
Because my point is, it's not as if the Speaker could do other things. Let's say dismiss them from Parliament. He cannot do that. I mean, jail them. He cannot do that. The only thing he can do is to suspend them 4 days, 8 days, or maybe 12 days. And he has gone ahead to exercise his powers already.
For which suspension the Standing Orders of Parliament provides for. And gives that power to Mr. Speaker, even in the absence of a Privileges Committee's findings in normal times. So we are having a sitting. The honorable member for ChannelOne constituency misbehaves. Mr. Speaker says, please, you are misbehaving. He does not comply. The orders allows Mr. Speaker the opportunity to send him out from that particular sitting day. In fact, subsequently, it allows Mr. Speaker to be able to suspend for a number of days, and these number of days have been given depending on the number of instances that this is. I think that there is the fair point about whether on that first attempt, Mr. Speaker should be able to give that 2 weeks, which is the 8th day kind of thing.
Yeah.
All of those conversations are there to be held. The extent of the punishment, whether the punishment was adequate for the kind of offense that is perceived to have been committed and what have you. But that is very different from an argument that Mr. Speaker cannot exert
no, I'll come to you. Franklin is just a spectator now. Let me speak to Franklin. Franklin, I mean, all of those things happening. What's your thoughts in the midst of all of it? Do you think Speaker was heavy-handed right from the outset, or you think it was apt? The interpretation of the rules is appearing to be creating issues. I mean, what do you think? Hello, Franklin. Oh, okay, Franklin is not here. So let me come to you, but I will take a break just after you, so quickly.
So in case, let's say in an organization, let's say your station, ChannelOne, somebody have embezzled money, and then the management asks him to step aside for investigation. It's normal practice. So what Speaker is doing, set aside for investigation. It's simple as that. And which for a disorderliness, which is provided under Order 129. So disorderliness set aside for what? Investigation to be done. It's a normal practice.
But the order set aside is not here. But the point I'm making is that the set aside, which is a suspension,
yes,
is the only sanction the Speaker can mete out to the people.
Yes.
He cannot do anything apart from that.
So,
and he has done so
already.
When
they, let's say they are prosecuting people, they put them under remand. At the end of judgment, don't they even sometimes do that?
So the Speaker will do that.
Yes, he can.
How will he do that? This is on the video. If this is on the audio, you pay them.
But the issue is that he's asking them to set aside for investigation. And then in the video, what we are saying, there are people in the video, me including me. When the tables were being turned down, we were protecting the table that they shouldn't do. We were pushing back that they shouldn't turn the table, otherwise they will damage it. And they continue to do it. So if they cite them for this, so be it, and allow the Speaker to do it well. If they have any challenges, they have any issue with this, they should go to court. It's simple as that.
Okay, so let me read 130, Order 130 of the Standing Orders of Parliament on suspension of member for disorderly conduct. So where a member is found, and of course Sammy read it, but let me just read it for emphasis. Where a member is found to be in contempt of Parliament under Order 129, the member shall be suspended immediately from the House, and unless the House otherwise decides, the suspension shall be on the first occasion for 4 sitting days, on the second occasion for 8 sitting days, and on the third or subsequent occasions for 12 sitting days, except that in calculating the period of suspension of a member, the day on which the member was suspended shall be included, and unless the House otherwise orders, the period of suspension shall not extend beyond the end of the session. 2, the Speaker shall call the attention of the House to the fact that force is necessary in order to compel obedience where a suspended member refuses to obey the direction of the Speaker to leave the House, and the member shall be forcibly removed from the House by the Marshal accordingly. So, I mean, these are all rules or provisions in the standing orders which have come to play. It does appear from the statement of the minority that this matter is not ending anytime soon, and that things may be happening. And let me ask you guys before I take a quick break. What is holding what is holding up the establishment or the setting up of the committees? Why can't we do that? Is it a difficult thing?
Yeah, so you must know that as the new people are in, they have to do arrangement for registration for them.
Registration how?
They have to register as a member of Parliament.
But they've done already.
They have done already. Their offices have to be provided. The sitting arrangements have to be arranged.
But the offices, are they not there?
They are there, but you have to allocate. They have to allocate.
But whose job is it to do this? Is it not the leaders?
Yes, it's the leaders. They are doing that. And then the sitting arrangement.
Let's not make this difficult. Allocation of offices. Yes. Is it? Should it take more than 1 day?
Yeah, yes. It can take even 2 weeks because there are existing MP who have to pack their thing. They need to repaint the place. They need to reshape the place before they end. It's like you are in a room. You vacate the room. So as a new person, you go into the room like that. Oh, that's how it is. From outside, they need to repaint the room.
No, but what has the office got to do with setting up of committees?
Yes, I'm saying that there are so many things they are doing in Parliament. So it's taking up and a training orientation of the people.
No.
It's a schedule. Setting of committees is a duty of the leadership to provide a name for speaker. And when they provide the name, it goes to committee of selection to approve. And then setting up of various committees. They have set up other committees. And then it's ongoing. It's an ongoing process. So it's not like a day job.
Now, I'm saying that you have the list.
Yeah.
MPP, for example, there are how many? 84 or 85 people?
88.
You have 88 people. The squad, they sit down. Okay, these are the people. These are their expertise.
Yes.
Privileges committee.
Yes.
Okay, we need 3 people on this committee. 1, 2, 3.
They
Go
will,
here.
They will do that, but committee of selection must meet.
Yeah, but I'm saying that
yes.
it's you see you are putting a lot of hurdles in the way. I'm saying that this thing could have been done long ago. Parliament has been sitting for 3 weeks now.
Yes, you see it as it
3
is.
weeks.
You see it
and
as
now
it is.
the work of other committees which don't exist is now being called into question.
Yeah, the list
if committee of privileges had been set up, we wouldn't have been debating this.
But setting up a new parliament, setting up a new government is not within 2 weeks. Let's be real. It's not going to happen within 2 weeks.
Let me hear something.
Yeah. So yes,
Sami, let me take a break. Okay. So this is the big issue. 97.3 City FM, also on ChannelOne television. Some of your messages, let me take them quickly and I'll take a break. So, Salam, I think minority MPs are still living in a dreamland, and I advise them to quickly wake up from their slumber for Ghanaians to forgive them in the future. They have failed their constituents woefully. The attitude towards vetting of their colleagues is despicable. They are quick to delve into politics of bitterness and fairy tales. What is the question about the tenancy agreement and the food they eat? What does that got to do with the ability to perform their ministerial duties? Salam, another prayer couldn't stand the hard castle of the Lady MFA. So he has decided to delve into realms of destructive politicking. That's Chris from Shale Botwe. This one from Ni in Bachuna says, good morning, Salam, and to your panelists. The issue of our Black West time for vetting. Apologies, some more messages have just come to displace this one. The issue of Black West vetting was as a result of an error on the part of the clerk of the committee. The said letter he is reading was issued by the clerk without the knowledge of the minority. This was stated clearly by Afenyo in the press conference and remarks at the committee. This is David Dambigu Sambian from Tampani. I believe that the Speaker of Parliament's decision for suspending the 4 members of Parliament was unnecessary in the sense that a lot of people were engaged in the disruption of vetting process. The Speaker could have considered the suspension and apply other methods in dealing with the case. This one says, what happened was unfortunate, but the majority should behave in a way that people will not otherwise, and the minority should also do same. That shady vetting that they did to those vetted will be the people to render this country down. Okay, not clear, but that's okay. The NDC members on the vetting committee were right to have insisted vetting should continue because the frustrated minority leader on limited questions and unending timing is the main cause of everything. He is there to vet, but not to settle personal scores with the nominees. The majority should assert their powers, or we, the grassroots, will come after them. Nobody should be allowed to delay the resetting agenda of the visionary president, JDM. This is Max Okeke from Tongo. This one says, good morning, my brother Salam. This is Samuel Amevo from Angloga in the Volta region. Please, I would like to say that our parliamentarians are just doing everything possible to disrupt the peace we enjoy in this country. Both majority and minority must be thinking about the people who send them there to represent them. This one came without a name. I will take a break, and then we see this one from Akwesi says, so it's a check the video to see the role of the former Free Zones Board. I think if the Speaker wants to add everyone, even the minority leader would be added. So are they saying that Speaker has no right to punish anyone at this time? There is no privilege. At this standard, there is no privileges committee. So the people should be left off the hook so they use my taxes to pay. Speaker must crack the whip. Yeah, that's from Akwesi.